You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast.
All right, folks. Happy Saturday to everybody out there. Welcome to the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. I want to say hi to everybody over in the chat. We're just going to scroll up here to the top, and I'll get like the first 10 or so. For those of you that got here early, we'll go ahead and hit you guys. We got GS70 Stealth. Who else we got up here? Sheila Graham, I want to say hi to you, even though, anyways. Dom C303, she is a member. Thank you. Who we got? Let's go out up here. Lynette Panther, many, many more. All right, so folks, thank you for tuning in today. We got a interesting show. We have a couple of Mitch's victims, and I think it's really important that you hear their story directly from them. And we're continuing this Mitch Snow, Harry Myer saga. And every time I've talked to so many of his ex-wives, people he's been in relationships with, and every time that you talk to these people, it is so much craziness individually of what's going on. It's hard to keep up with. And then you start talking to the next one and the next one and the next one. And there's just a clear pattern of what's going on. And a couple of things that I want to make sure that we understand on this show is, first and foremost, the entire testimony that he is giving, number one, on its face, is just nonsense. And we don't really have we don't need to debunk his testimony. What I will say is that his entire testimony rides on his credibility, and that's really important. With that being said, what really should be taking place is that we should be provided proof that any of these things actually happened. If you want to say that Brian Harpole was there, then give us some proof that Brian Harpole was there. If you want to say that Eric Kirk was there, give us some proof that Eric Kirk was here. It is not on the people that are being accused to provide proof of their innocence. That's not how this works. That's not how it's supposed to work, and it's ridiculous on its face. But with that being said, Candace decided to bring this person on who is a serial woman abuser, who is a serial manipulator, who has victimized children, has victimized people time and time and time again. And the pattern is clear, and there's court records that document all this stuff. And, you know, it's just unbelievable that she didn't do a better job vetting this person. We shouldn't even be here to begin with, because that's what should have been done. It was on her to vet this person. We shouldn't have to be here debunking his story or challenging his credibility. But I think since we are here, this is the situation that we've been given. That's what we have to do. And I think it's really important for all the people out there defending him that you hear directly from his victims. And that's what we're going to do today. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and welcome Candace Graychick and Aaron Massey. So ladies, thank you for having the courage to come on. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. One of the things that I want to do before we get into kind of introducing exactly who you are, your relationship, both of your relationships with Mitchell Snow, is there is a podcast out there, and I want to go ahead and play this, and we will kind of hear what's being said about you guys and some other information. And folks, if you want to watch this entire podcast, I'll put a link for it down in the description below. And I do want to say I already see some super chats going on. What we'll do like normal is we will kind of conduct this like a normal podcast, and we will definitely we'll prioritize the super chats, and then we will also try to get as many live questions and comments in as possible. As always, we definitely encourage disagreement. I'm all about that, but we're not going to deal with ad hominems. If you're just going to talk smack over in the chat, you're not contributing to the conversation. If you're here to ask questions, if you're here to challenge me, here to ask questions of these ladies that have been victimized by Mitchell Snow, we'll accommodate all those things, but we're just not going to let you troll the chat. Not going to happen. All right, so let's go ahead and throw this.
Apparently, these two women and the in-home care that I had after one of my surgeries, that in-home care was also the care for Aaron Massey's mother. So they knew her, and when they put her in my house also, they used her as a spy. They used her to get Candace Grayson in my house. And then Aaron Massey came along with that. And they all started this whole thing, and I guess the whole plan was they were going to get paid by Mom to frame me for the infections and stuff like that Mom had been causing him for years. But somewhere in that process, these two women thought that they could make more money by having both me and Mom thrown in jail, take custody of my son. Through custody of him, they felt that they could obtain ownership of my home and be able to get the $350,000 equity that I built up in it now.
So the money thereafter is obviously, like you just stated, the home eventually, if they get their way, which we pray they won't. But what amount of money are all of them, if they're all working together, what's the true incentive? What's really going on here? Is it, and these might be a little direct questions, but is it money? Is it to keep, doing certain things to your son? What is holding all this, the glue that's keeping all these people working together? Like, what's the end goal of this? Just to ruin your life?
We've added Miss Lovett's statement to it. Miss Lovett got to know these women too and became a target of them. Yes, sir. You ask a really good question. It's a question I've asked also. Like, who has the energy to do all of this stuff? It's just nuts. But these two women they're grifters. They've done it to countless men before me. They've done it to multiple men after me. We've got court records. This is what they do. They get men thrown in jail. And then their grift is, once they got them thrown in jail like they did with me, on the very day that my bail hearing raised my bail, that they knew I was innocent, it's really strange. You have the prosecutor with the Deputy Murillo involved, sending Murillo to pull guard for these two women to break and enter into my home, to plant evidence on my computer and ransack my belongings and tear up any records that I have. And they photographed themselves doing it. And they provided it to the court. It's bizarre. So they basically, what they do is they get men thrown in jail on false charges, and while they're in jail, they break into the guy's house and steal everything he has.
Jesus.
Yep.
And then they get protective orders and run off, which the stipulations of those orders that they get, they know just what to say, so that if you try to investigate them or go after them or have them served, you're actually in violation of the protective order. So basically, it's like a perfect crime.
But it also takes the networking of the judge. So everyone must be in on the take, apparently, in order for this to keep, for this to work. Would you say?
Well, yeah, and that's where it becomes really obvious in these hearings. That's why we have so many transcripts, because the evidence don't add up. They're pursuing all these charges against me that they have no evidence for. They're coming after, even today, they're still trying to pursue or make some case that I'm an international assassin, a spy, a gun runner. They're calling in the ATF, the FBI, the NSA, the Department of Homeland Security, trying to make all these reports and then referring to their own reports to try and substantiate their own allegations.
All right. So he's an international gun runner. He's a spy. They're calling on DHS, the FBI, all these things. And by the way, everybody, if you go watch that entire podcast, the whole thing is predicated on the idea that everybody in this town is on the take from Lene and other people. And she's paying all these judges and all these other things. And then, by the way, she's paying two professional grifters that wait until, he gets thrown in jail, and then they break into his home. Now, Candace, let's go ahead and bring you in on this. He said he basically doesn't know who you guys are, that you're just paid grifters, you made some allegations, and then you broke into his home. So fill the audience in on your relationship with Mitch at the time that he's saying that you broke into his home and stole all his stuff and then ran off, I guess.
So Mitch and I lived together for 18 months. It was our home. Okay. I had a domestic violence protection order issued. And because of that, I was able to go and collect my personal belongings that were in that property. I had.
He failed to leave that kind of important, he failed to mention that kind of important detail. That seems odd to me.
Well, absolutely. And we were, engaged for about 6 months. He proposed to me on my birthday, Veterans Day. And you'll see in the court records and the text messages that he even tried to manipulate me after I had left the relationship with a larger rank because he got another credit card. He's full of crap. He's a manipulative, coercive liar. He's been abusing women for a long time, but for me specifically, he gave me a TBI. I have in text messages, him admitting to punching me in the face the night he gave me a TBI. Okay. And December 4th of 22. It's just, he's a horrible serial abusive person.
And for everybody that isn't aware, that didn't watch Nate's podcast yesterday, he provided all the documentation with Candace. What I wanted to try to do was, we have all that documentation, we can share all that stuff, but I wanted to just hear her story. The documentation is there, text messages, court cases, and currently right now he is on a domestic violence charge with you and a protection order against you and Aaron, which we will get to in just a few minutes. But he admitted to in text messages with you that he punched you in the face. You said, "Hey, you punched me in the face." And he said, "Yeah, I did. I'm sorry." So these are all documented. This isn't just hearsay. This isn't, a scorned woman coming on here and claiming something. This is, number one, it is a crime. It's been prosecuted. It's been adjudicated. We have evidence of all these things. And this is just one of many victims. And by the way, we're going to have Lene on, his wife, current wife, essentially, that they've been going through the divorce for, how long have they been going through a divorce now? Almost 10 years?
2016. So yeah.
She's going to come on, going to talk about the abuses and the allegations from him, by the way, against her and vice versa. But we will have her on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But go ahead and continue, Candace.
Sure. So I met Mitch on December 31st of 22. And I was a nutritional director. I was living in Oregon, not Washington. He had spun the story of his ex-wife was abusing their son, that his son was dealing with an eating disorder, that it was all her fault, that, he was a victim of abusive women. And he really played into that with me. I had worked for a school district at that time. And, hearing that the child's being abused, he sent me videos of the child. He was just a really sweet kid. It's hard to understand that whole situation. And it's a form of manipulation. But my heart went out to the kid and to him in that situation at that point in time. And then we got into the relationship rather quickly, moved in very quickly, relocated, got a new job. And then he needed a car and he needed a new transmission and he needed certain bills paid for. And then he needed me to pay for his lawyer. to take his ex-wife to court. He needed me and my reputation to fight his battles because he couldn't do it himself. And, you know, I didn't feel comfortable doing it. You know, it wasn't my place. You know, he was still married to Lene. It's, you know, and the constant threat, if you don't do it, well, then get out of my house. I need to find another woman that was going to do this for me. Well, that's not the right thing to do,
Sure.
you know? And I was constantly living in fear from this man that liked to drink a lot, break in through the door while I was sleeping at night, either sexually assault me and beat me and laugh about it, or the night of the TBI, I had locked myself away. I had put an armoire in front of our master door, okay? He went and found tools to break the door open, laughing on the other side, telling me 44 different ways he was going to kill me, bury my body in the desert where no one could find it, and who was going to help him do it. And then he broke the door down, started strangling me, hitting me in the face, picked me up, and slammed the back of my head into the ground. I don't know how long I was out for. It was a while because he was no longer in the room when I came to. I started looking for my phone, and then I ended up passing out later on that night. You know, this is just the type of person you're dealing with. Is he won't stop. He won't leave you alone once he's had you. He thinks we're all out to get him or some type of conspiracy theory. Reality check. You're not that important to me. I have other things in my life going on that are way more important. You know, what I want people to know is that he has a need to create a narrative for every single person to manipulate and coerce you for whatever he's doing in his life, whatever his goal is at that moment in time. You know, he's a con artist, you know.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So during this entire relationship, was he working? Like, where was the source of income coming from?
He was not working. I was working. I was working at Hanford. I did contract management. And so, you know, he had me paying his car insurance. He had me paying the utilities for the property. He had me paying the mortgage at times. And taking him out to restaurants, paying for the vehicles. I paid for everything. I paid for the attorneys. I just, you know, it's financially draining and exhausting.
So you're going to work every day, and
right.
What does he do?
He doesn't do anything. At the time, he had a home care aide that came into the house and did some cleaning for him, or drove him around and took him to different places so he could talk to people. He's likes to be the center of any type of attention. He had a parrot he would take out with him just to go talk to people. You know, he played video games a lot, different types of game systems on Xbox. He didn't sleep at night. He used to take my car and take my phone while I was asleep. And he would go stalk his ex-wife, and he'd videotape himself doing so, creating a narrative, and then bring it home and upload it on the computer. He was talking to a bunch of women on Facebook, and ex-girlfriends or local women in general, just spinning different stories at them, telling them all a different thing to try to get money to try to get, in their pants, so to speak. That's what he did. He does nothing. He has not worked in forever. He's living off of women's financials. And at that,
what does he have any source of income whatsoever?
he does. Okay. At the time that I met him, he was 90% disabled veteran with unemployability. So he wasn't, according to the VA, able to work anymore. So they allowed him to be unemployable. While we were together, he got it up to 100%. And I want to say, when you're 100% veteran, okay, with service-connected disabilities, you get a card and you have access to go to MWR, the commissary, the exchange on any military base. You are allowed to do those things.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm allowed to do those things. I'm a veteran. It just, the layers of lies that he's talking about and telling people, I trust the system, okay, the process, okay. If the court says that I have a 12-year domestic violence protection order, and he's not supposed to be harassing me, talking ill of me, why is he being allowed to do what he's doing? Why is he going on podcasts? Why is he reaching out to reporters? Why is he slandering me? And why is he getting away with it? Why are people supporting him? Is it because they don't know? Is it because they don't do their research? It's easy to look up and, Google his current name, Mitchell Harrison Snow, and know that he's harming women. He laughs about it. He likes to do it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, so, one of the things that kind of is the genesis of his story with Candace Owens. He talks about being on the border in 1990, and he's down there and he helps discover this big drug bust and tunnel. I talked to his wife, that was his ex-wife, that was his wife during that time period. She knew nothing about that. He actually has an award write-up. I think he was down there with border support. He does have an award write-up, but what it doesn't talk about, and it would be the fact that he actually assisted in a large drug bust. From there, he said that, the cartels were chasing him. He had a 35-year NDA, which is not a thing, and that he was in witness protection. Can you confirm or deny any of those things? Have you heard anything about that? Did he talk about those things? Like any information on that?
He has never talked about that stuff to me when we were in that relationship. Gotcha. I don't remember hearing any NDA. It was just complaints about his ex-wife, Lene, and the fact that he was still going through the divorce. There was no talk about an NDA, which is, not logical when you're sitting there on podcasts, when you're out in the public, when you're talking to senators and congressmen, trying to manipulate them to do what you want them to do, or judges. He is the one that asked me for money so that he could go drive around in the middle of the night and get biker gangs to kill a Superior Court judge, Shay Brown, myself once I left, and Aaron Massey. He is the one that did that. He was waiting for my compensation from the VA as a chunk of change to do that.
Now, both after talking to Lene, talking to you, talking to other ex-wives, he seemed to be extremely consumed with, number one, getting custody of his child, but also kind of destroying Lene. Talk a little bit about some of the things that he would do with that.
So I want to mention the fact that in that podcast with Kat Espinoza, he brought up the whole mortgage situation on his house. Okay. He tried to manipulate a woman working for a mortgage company and get into a personal relationship with her in order for her to give him the title to that house while going through the divorce with Lene. This man wants money. He wants property. He wants the child so that he can get child support so he doesn't have to keep paying her child support. Okay. He just wants money and control.
Now, he's
In the house, the house is marital property. So Lene owned the house before she ever even met or married Mitch. That was her home after grad school.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she purchased the home in Pasco. During their marriage, he wanted a second property. She bought a larger, more expensive home, about $700,000, and 6-bedroom. They moved into that house. Okay, they were planning on renting out the Pasco home that he's currently living in. But with all the domestic violence that was happening, they ended up, going through domestic violence issues, splitting up. She had to sell that property,
The big house.
and in the process of all of that, she's living in a very small apartment now, and he got the Pasco home.
And the court split the big house money to pay
Attorney
court debt.
fees.
Yeah, attorney fees and court debt. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that money went nowhere. There was nothing left.
And during his marriage with Lene, was he ever working or anything like that?
No.
So
As far as I know, he was a stay-at-home dad from what he told me.
Yeah.
Like he would brag about the fact that he got to stay home with Nate all the time.
Gotcha. And she was the sole source of income outside of his disability.
Yes.
Yes.
In several podcasts, he talks about or provides allegations against Lene of both abuse and physical abuse and starving their son Nathan. You were kind of front and center with all of this. Did you see anything that would substantiate that? Do you feel like that was true? What's your thoughts or what did you see regarding those issues?
So Lene and her son, are very quiet, shy, isolated kind of people. Okay, I want to say that.
So introverted.
Yeah, they're introverted. I kind of think it's due to lack of trust with others because of Mitch, is what I want to say. While I was in the relationship with Mitch, there were times I would wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and find him in his son's room. Not letting him sleep, just yammering and telling him old stories while he's drunk. Okay. I can say that I don't believe that there was any abuse from Lene.
Coercion.
There are, in my opinion, records, well, in court's opinion as well, there's documented records that he coerced Nathan Snow. Well, sorry, his son. He coerced his son into every type of communication, saying his mother did this to him. His mother touches him while he's asleep, things of that nature. He had him completely convinced that his mom did those things.
And there was like an intense, deep investigation by a detective. And when they got Nate into the same room with the detective and a social worker or psychologist, I forget what she was exactly, but when they got Nate by himself, he was like, oh, yeah, my mom does these things to me. But they were like, are you, have you seen her do it? Do you know she's doing it? And he was like, no, I'm asleep. And then it led on into his dad told him so.
Right.
What?
Right.
Like, it's written on a report from the detective, and whenever Mitch says, oh, the detective's in cahoots and stuff, he just disagrees with the report. But I mean, it's not my place to talk a whole lot about Nate and Lene,
Sure.
but I do know that, there's been a lot of therapy with a third party just to be able to, just for Nate to be able to function and process everything that he was put through.
Yeah. Mitch used to take my vehicle and take my phone. He would leave his phone at the house because he considered that some kind of app on the phone that shows you exactly where you've been. Metadata was the way in order to communicate that he was not stalking his ex-wife, Lene, that he was not every single night going to her house. Okay. Or that he did not take his son out on drives, just the two of them in the middle of nowhere, and coerce his son for hours at a time, which he did every single night.
So he was on a regular basis throughout the week. So right now, and by the way, for context, when you're talking about this, Mitch has a protective order against him, and basically,
Nate has a protection order against Mitch, and then Lene has a protection order against Mitch. And this stuff here that Candace is talking about, we knew that he was like going on drives with Nathan. We knew that he was doing, going out he'd say he'd go out and be right back. Like, he wouldn't specify like where he was going, because I hung out with Candace with my kids and stuff, and my kids played with Nate. Like, they're close to the same age. And we didn't realize like how far in depth it went until
rabbit hole.
And like how far down the rabbit hole it went until after we were moving, until the time frame that we were moving Candace out, and we went in and she was going to go delete all her stuff off their shared computer. And he had a lot of stuff like recently uploaded the day he got arrested. Like, he knew he was getting arrested. He knew this stuff was happening. He was dumping his cell phone. He was dumping everything onto the computer and just getting rid of evidence per se. That way he couldn't get caught. Because if you get rid of it, it doesn't exist, right? Whenever you go to jail and you have your phone and you've just restarted it, I mean, it's not there. So that's when we found out all this was going. So like, while she was there, she wasn't
recorded himself doing and saying what he said to his son and his son's reaction.
Yeah.
So he was going on these drives. He's recording him coercing his son on his phone
secretly.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And we found out about it when we were going through the computer. So we were just like, screw this. We called Pasco, and Pasco PD did say it was a shared family computer, and Candace had every right to it, as Mitch did. And since her Hanford stuff was on it, whatever. So she was like, well, I still need a computer for work. So that's the computer she ended up taking whenever she was moving out of the house. So it's like, she didn't steal anything. She didn't say, she lived there. Like, it was shared family. Yeah. Like, he's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, or not hundreds of thousands, let's be real, like tens of thousands of dollars, in the time frame that she's with him, of her money on just bogus nonsense. Like, I mean, the Jeep he's driving around, it was bought in her name. The loan has her name attached to it. Like, he has credit cards with her name attached to it. Like, he has debt that he created with her name attached to it that she spent the past like 2.5 years paying off, and he still has half the stuff. I mean, she didn't even take everything she owned.
And he's the one claiming that you're a professional grifter, that he doesn't even know who you are. You just get him thrown in jail and then come break into the house and take the stuff.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wild ride. So all of this evidence is now on this computer. Was that evidence turned over to any prosecutors, any detectives? Like, what happened?
We were told by the law enforcement officer when we called them to turn it off, not to turn it back on until law enforcement took it, because it can tamper with whatever. So we have left it off since the day it was removed out of the house. So that way, chain of custody and evidence is maintained. So they can take it into a room, do their thing, and go from there. And at this point in time, with as much as it is being thrown around at this point, like, we kind of hope, we welcome the feds to come knocking on our door at this point. Like, we don't care. Like, we've not done anything. And Mitch has like turned this into a situation where he's reported us and others to the FBI. He has, like, it's wild and crazy what he's done. And it's not us not leaving him alone. It's literally him not leaving us alone 2.5 years later.
insane.
It's really crazy. We're like, she's living in another state and I'm living across the state of Washington,
Yep.
far away from him. And he just doesn't know when enough's enough. Like, he's got a whole little posse of people that he's wrapped up into this.
So let's kind of switch gears just a little bit, Aaron, and let's talk about how you fit into all this and why you have a protective order against him as well, because you both currently still have protective orders.
Mhm.
And he did spend some time in jail. What did he spend? He spent about 150 days in jail from what I gathered, right?
5 months,
Roughly, yeah, roughly like 4 to 5 months. He was there for the threats to kill. Later was dismissed based on the fact that, you know, we never had any in writing. We never said we did, but it ended up being a situation to where we were able to regurgitate essentially like what he was doing and saying. And because there wasn't physical evidence of any of it, and they didn't want the hard drive and they didn't want the computer to like prove everything else that was going on and, you know, all the stuff they would need, they were pretty much like, well, we're going to dismiss the case itself, but if he does anything in the future, this can still come back, is how they explained it. So I don't know if it's like with prejudice, without prejudice, how it works out like that, but basically that's what it was. So how I fit into it is Mitch and I met pre-COVID. We were friends. He was big in the veteran community. He was like buddy with like political figures in Benton County area and Franklin County area, whether it be sheriffs or, you know, representatives for local areas or senators or congressmen. Like, it didn't matter. He was like, he had a way with people. He has a way of getting people to believe his BS. That is where our friendship started. Our friendship was a little bit on and off. I never wanted to date him. He was getting like too cozy at times, and I kind of just like pushed it off a little bit, separated us, you know, friends wise, and then would let him come back in life type thing as needed and kind of go from there. We did, like, our kids are close to the same age. So like Nate and Mason did play together. They didn't play together a lot, but they were friends. They knew each other and they did play video games, Roblox, things like that. And Mitch was the type of person that he just had a way with people. So 2023, the beginning, which was the absolute downfall of our friendship, the beginning of it, he had me serve his wife, Lene, court documents that he filed. I mean, like, it was like a stack, like a plethora of documents. So I went to her house. I served her as a process server. I wrote up the declaration, took the photos as evidence, timestamped that I was there. And I actually got a hold of her to arrange the service. She just didn't answer the door at first because she thought it was Mitch trying to break in, because apparently he's done that a lot. So I was like, this is nuts. So she took the documents from me willingly. She apologized for not answering. You know, I wrote up the declaration, wrote up everything of the events of, you know, her attempt of ignoring the stuff and then finally getting a hold of me and getting a hold of the paperwork. So that was that. And then Mitch hired me, and Candace was paying for this the entire time. Mitch hired me to, he wrote up documents and stuff and asked me as a process server if I would go file the documents in court and get them served. As a process server in Washington, I can do that. I can go I have filing fees. Filing fees in Washington State, every process server has them. We don't represent people. We don't write up the documents for you. Like, if you jack it up and the clerk gives it back, we will charge you the fee, bring them back to you and be like, the notes are on there from the clerk, and then move on from there. And we will go that route. Sorry. So we, the dog barks at everybody. So we were in a situation to where that was happening. So Mitch had called the clerks, called the courts, and told them that I was representing them and that I was the one that was doing the things that were, you know, like writing up the documents and all this stuff. That's not true at all. Like, I did not ever put my words on any of his paperwork. Like, nothing, my thoughts and opinions were not written on his paperwork at all. It was always his own words, his own stuff. And him and Candace, like, whatever documents and stuff they filed is what they filed. I went off on Mitch whenever I came out of the court, because while I was in court, my mentor's wife was actually in there with me. I did get chewed out by a judge. He came out and said his clerks told him that I was Mitch's attorney. And that's not anything I ever said. So after that encounter, and he told me to take the paperwork back, the judge said, take the paperwork back to Mitch and tell him to bring it in and do this. So I left. I immediately started texting Mitch, which is where those text messages that I sent you came from, and his responses back. And he was like, oh, I just told him that you were filing and you were assisting. And I was like, dude, it makes it sound like I'm your attorney. Like, I'm not legally representing you. Like, that's real jail time. Like, that's something stupid. So I was like, you cannot do this to a person. So he and I went back and forth. I ended the friendship. And at that moment, I believe it was the next day, took the giant stack of paperwork that he had me file back to his home. I put a rock on it. Him and Candace had a home security system. So there is a whole video of me taking that documentation, dropping it off on his house, and him coming out like he's like some guru with Candace's cell phone at that. Has his phone in hand at first, goes inside, shuts the door, trades phones with Candace, comes back out with her phone, and is videotaping me getting into my car and driving away like I was doing something wrong. So, I mean, it's crazy. And I didn't even know that until after Candace moved out and all this other stuff, which was like 3-4 weeks later. Yeah. Like, I get phone calls from Mitch asking where Candace is. And I'm like, why does everybody come back to me? Like, this is nuts. Like, I'm not even friends with y'all anymore.
Yeah. What led to the protective order against him from you?
So I ended up filing the protection order once I found out that from Candace that he was attempting to hire people to murder me. And I had good reason to believe it because he had sent me messages of Shay, go away. And then text messages after hearings where she had ruled in Lene's favor, not his, where orally he had told me that he wanted to literally get rid of the entire courthouse and the judges, where orally he had told me like every woman on the face of the planet was out to get him. Like, just like crazy things. And most of the time he was drunk. So I pushed it off as like, he's just drunk. You know, a sober person wouldn't believe this, but it was becoming more of a reality than it was just a drunk thing. And then when you played that clip, I did want to address a couple of things that were in there. I kind of took like 3 little pages of notes. He, in the clip that you played, he talks about how his caregiver was my mom's caregiver. My mom can provide that part of her record. She's already got it printed out because it's been brought up enough to where we printed it out. Mm-hmm. My mom has never had an in-home caregiver until literally last year, like 2024. This all happened in 2023. So 2024 is my mom's first caregiver ever in the history of ever. And she came in and did some stuff, and it was nobody that was associated with Mitch Snow at all. Good. So we never had a home caregiver in our house. And Mitch's caregiver is somebody that, well, he went through 3 or 4 of them. And so in the time frame I knew him, he had like 3 or 4 caregivers because they would all quit because of his drinking and them cleaning up messes and like all kinds of stuff. Because I walked in and had to help a couple of times, like to have his caregivers clean up after him. And then Candace, like she said, she was a director for like in a school district in Oregon for several years. And I lived here. Candace and I never knew each other. There was no like passing. Candace lived like 6 hours from here. Like, I have better things to do with my life. Mitch introduced us like 6 months into their relationship. And I was actually at a Republican party meeting here in Benton County whenever that happened. And then money, Lene works not a low paying job, but like a basic average paying job. Sure. And right now she doesn't have extra funds to pay anyone off. Like, that's insane. So we're still trying to figure out who, where, you know, who, how, when, where, why on that one. And then Katrina Lovett, Mitch brought up, she started her retaliatory behavior the day that I filed a restraining order against her, and then did this podcast and this news article as a whistleblower with him after permanent or 1 year, or not permanent order, but a mutual restraining order was put in place between her and I because clearly she and I couldn't get along. So her answer to that was to retaliate and do the Cat podcast and interview, because even in the podcast with Cat, not this clip, but additional clips, like Mitch does say that he never put Candace and I into the debacle of things in his mind until Katrina Lovett came along. So there's a lot of stuff that was just like false in it. And, you know, she's still working with him. I have a declaration from her recently that because I'm renewing my order, and she's like, oh, the relationship doesn't matter. But FYI, Mitch and I went to the FBI and reported all this stuff. And like I said, we welcome that.
At some point in that podcast, Mitch claims that Lene stole, I don't know, something like $300,000 or something like that from him. Is there any truth to that? Anything that
it's like $400,000, and I think I'm supposed to have it under my mattress. Like, I think that's how it is. No, there's no truth to that. Like Mitch, I mean, even if you did the math on what he gets for his disability and stuff, and like input and output annually, right? Like It doesn't add up. It just your daily expenses and stuff. Like it doesn't even add up on him even having that money to begin with, and then we have no idea where that is unless he's talking about the money from the house. But if that's the case, there's court orders from my understanding. I don't have those orders, but I do know there's court orders from what Lene's told me that divvied that money up, and the money's gone. Like the money went into a trust and paid off lawyers and everything. Like she never even had access to that because it got locked up by the courts.
Now, Candace, you were obviously with him during some of this period of time. Did you ever see him have access to that amount of money, or any indication that he had that amount of money or anything like that?
No, I mean, the only money that really is between him and Lene is in the equity in the home he's living in. And that's what he was trying to manipulate the lady that worked for the mortgage company to get access to the title. Because without the divorce being finalized, he doesn't have access to those funds. So he tried to manipulate court documents and records and send them to her to get the title company to give him access to it. You know, as a veteran, you get $3,800 on average a month, depending upon dependents, right? Or local things. So you're talking, you know, no more than $50,000 annually. And
before her, he had bills because he was single for a while. I mean, like he was paying his own bills for a little bit. It's like, I personally never saw him buy exuberant things. Like he had a boat that was broke for years in his yard. Like, I mean, you would think if you had that much money, you would fix your boat, you know, you would do these things like, so you can utilize them. I have no idea where like these funds, you know, come from. And it like,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and then, you know, so we never stole anything from him. We never took any money. We never did anything. We moved out in a SUV. We moved Candace out in an SUV and a tiny open trailer, like the size of the SUV attached to the SUV. Like we had small trailer, small, you know, SUV, and loaded up the both of them, strapped everything down with the tarp and took off. That was it. Like that was the end. We had 1 bedroom's worth of stuff in it. Some stuff from around the house that Candace moved up from Oregon.
her personal
items.
We left a lot of furniture out, you know, I just
her like storage room was teeny tiny.
And during that whole time, during that relationship, Candace, you're basically covering all the bills. Sounds like you bought a vehicle, for at least one vehicle for him.
Yeah, he had an old Hummer. He had me replace the transmission for that. That was $8,000. And then he had me buy a vehicle for him. I actually bought it from a friend that I worked with because she had a lot of vehicles she was selling.
That wasn't really for him. That was more or less for her as a second vehicle to run around in while the Hummer was getting fixed.
Yeah. So when I left him, he had that vehicle that was in my name towed, impounded.
Yeah.
It started raking up debt, okay, that I ended up having to pay about $3,000. It's just, he does things to hurt you more, even after you're gone. Like, he never stops. It was one thing after the other with him. I want to say, so I filed my DVPO and it was awarded. The day after he filed his in a different county, okay, he broke his own nose and went to the ER.
Yeah, he was sending pictures and videos to Candace before he broke his nose, and then of his nose not broken because he's videotaping himself with Nate. And then like a couple of days later, he breaks his nose and then goes to the ER and everything else. And it's like, okay, dude. And he says that she broke it. And it's like, how did she break your nose if the day she left, you're sending her videos and photos of you and Nate begging for her to come back and your nose isn't broken? Like,
Well,
he didn't think those things through.
There's a story that he tells on that podcast where he says that Lene lures him into the house. She already had the garage set up as a prison. It's basically like a scene out of Misery, sounds like. And it uses the hammer to break his thumbs, to break his feet, to bash him over the head, locks him in there. She conveniently left the hammer inside the garage, I guess, so he could break himself out. Do you mind, like, how, she basically,
I know there's a police report somewhere in existence because I've read it, and he essentially like was assaulting her, chasing her. He got mad at her, used a hammer on her car, something to that effect. She had a Mustang, a nice one. And he used the hammer on the car in the police report. Then he got into his vehicle and drove away. She did lock herself inside the house. I do know that's a thing because that's what she tells the police. She's called 911 too. The cops went and got him down the road because he didn't even stay at the house. He drove down the road, and his hands weren't broken in the report. Like, nothing was wrong with him in the report, from my understanding. And he started like telling this crazy story then. But there's in regards to that.
He also alleges that she ripped his arm out of socket. Do you mind if I ask it, if you want to give me a general of how big is Lene?
She's small. She's like 5 foot.
She's 5'2".
She's like 5'2" and like maybe 80 pounds, 90 pounds. Like, she's not a big woman.
She's not a big girl.
Yeah.
She's not like a black belt in jiu-jitsu or anything like that you're aware of.
No.
All right. Yeah.
Hold on. Hey, if you can pause for 1 second.
Yeah, no problem. Hold on 1 second. My audio is cutting out right now. I'm sorry. Say that one more time for me. Folks, and by the way, we do have Mitch's son. He's waiting down below patiently. We'll get him up there. I don't know. It looks like we have it froze on Candace and Aaron's feed. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if they paused it or what's happening there, but we will get that. And we will definitely get to you, Mr. Redbeard. I don't know if you want your name used. We'll get you up there in just a second. I know you can hear me, and I can't hear you right now. But let's do this real quick. There's a few super chats that I want to get to, and then I'll bring his son on here, and we'll take it from there, and we'll see what's going on with their feed. I think they have it paused, but I'm not sure. All right. So first and foremost, Corral Saul, thank you for becoming a member. Sissy Bingham, thank you for becoming a member. Lone Fishing Game, I wonder if Candace will watch your stream again. She probably is. God bless you, ladies, for coming forward. I agree. Front row seat to this insanity for a long time. Thank you, and Nate, for bringing this to life. Harry isn't even coherent. The entire world is stacked outside of the door, ready to victimize him. Ask him, he'll tell you. Sounds like you know him personally. If you have any other information you want to share about Harry that's relevant to this, feel free to send me a email. Chris Weber, I miss a lot of lives, but been riding with you, Gary, for a while. Thank you, Chris, by the way. The pushback all started here. Thank you for the bravery and the hard work. As Christians, we stand up for the truth and others against those who abuse and subvert. Praying for you, ladies. All right. Let's bring them back on stage here. Can you guys hear me? We lost
Sorry,
you
I
for a
had
minute.
like 3 calls in a row. I can. Can you hear me? Yeah, I was
can.
like 3 calls in a row. I got to answer this real fast.
Fair enough. Nope. Brittany Crosby, thank you for becoming a member, folks. Like, share, subscribe, all those things. If you would like to become a member, you want to support the channel, the link is down in the description below. We appreciate the support for that. Nice shirt, Gary. Ladies, apologies for y'all having to speak out publicly about this. I admire y'all's courage, and thank you too. I almost missed this one. Gifted 10 Paramount Tactical memberships. Thank you, Domsey. We appreciate that.
Nice.
Gary is a true seeker because he's an honorable man. FYI, the trolls and bots. Yeah, I'm not worried about them at all. We're gonna get those. It is what it is. It just means we're over the target, folks. We're just over the target. That's what's going on here. Look. Again, the importance of this and why this is so relevant is because of the fact that the only thing that we have is testimony from Mr. Harry Myers, Mitchell Snow. Let's talk about that real quick, because I'm sure you guys have some, especially you, Candace. I'm sure you both know the story behind it. You know, his claim was that he changed his name from Harry Myers to Mitchell Snow because he was in witness protection program. As I understand it, he changed his name to Mitchell Snow in 2010 when he married Lene Snow. Can you give us any background information on that?
That's literally the truth. His birth certificate name is the Harry Lawrence Myers. He's from Western Washington, from my understanding. And he changed his name because he thought it was a cool last name, from what he told me, to Mitchell Harrison Snow. And then the backstory he gives on that, and the reason he changed it, is because his dad was a horrible person, used to beat him when he was a kid, things of that nature. Like, he doesn't give a reason outside of that. But I mean, if you're hiding from somebody for 35 years from the cartel, why would you wait 20 years before you change your name? Like, and why would you do it on publicly in a marriage? You know, like, it's traceable. Like, the cartel, they have smart people. We all know this. Like, we've all been around the block a time or two. Like, if they want to find you, they're going to find you.
Yeah, folks, there is a system in place, and you can research this information, that if you're in witness protection, how they come up with, how they change your name, how they disappear you. All right. And public records is not how that works. So there is nothing that corroborates that story, which, again, besides what these ladies are telling you, we've had other people testify. We're going to have Lene on next week. His son is about to come on here. The fact is that what we have is a serial, and this guy just lies and makes things up. And it's when you talk to one of these victims, like, you're just overwhelmed with the information that they throw at you, and it just happens time and time and time again. It's just crazy story after crazy story after crazy story, and somehow Mitchell is always the victim. He's always the victim. Everybody's out to get him, and he's always kind of woe is me. Every video that you see, including Candace's video, it's like, I'm just been victimized, and I've never seen anything like it.
It's all a giant smear campaign. He has no real evidence. If you look at his evidence in the Cat Espinda stuff, like, it's a receipt from a joint checking account where Lene withdrew money to pay bills, and she has the receipts for the bills she paid. It's like a smear campaign on myself, Candace Graysick, and other people, with only words. Like, I mean, a glorious, like, huge 5-hour story. Words. Like, there's no physical evidence. The only physical evidence that exists is literally the physical evidence we have of the things he did and said to us and against us. Like, that's it. We have everything. And it's like, he suddenly says I'm some master, like, hacker and stuff in that podcast. Dude, I barely keep up with my own nonsense as a process server. Like, I can't, no. I started a cybersecurity degree, and then I quit because I decided that was way too much for my brain. Like, there are some people that are meant for it and some people that aren't. Like, I am not that person.
I couldn't get her mic to work.
I couldn't get my mic to work, my laptop today,
and how do you
prior to this, we had technical difficulties.
My cell phone right now, my Google Pixel, because Pixel's got it figured out. And, like, as far as putting people in jail and stuff, Candace and I do not make a hobby out of putting people in jail. I've never put someone in jail, to my knowledge. Like, have I had bad things happen to me? Yes, of course, 100%. Is this the platform to talk on it? Nope. because there's still things that could be charged to other people, and this is not the time or place. I'm not going to pit people on, my my people that are like, I guess, like perpetrators on a public platform like this, because it's not me. Like, I would really love to forget the fact that, Mitchell Snow and his little posse exist. Like, I just would like to forget their names. I would like to stop hearing my name. I would like to stop, getting phone calls. Like the cat thing, I got death threats. We had death threats on the podcast itself, written in writing, like kill us all and bury us in the desert. I mean, like, who does and says this stuff? Like, this is not normal. And they were inciting people to still be harmful and cruel, in that podcast with the people responding. Like, it's not okay. We're real people. We have children. We have families. Like, it's just not okay.
I want to say one thing. Mitch Snow has his dining room is literally a gym. Okay. He has weights that he uses. Mm-hmm. He can lift up to 250 pounds. I've seen him bench it before. Why he's trying to say that he can't carry a woman when he picked me up and slammed me on the back of my head on the floor. He is physically capable of doing so many things. He is not in that way disabled.
No. Right. He's technically disabled. So, I don't even want to get into that. Look, what is it that you want people to know? Because I know that and we had a long discussion about this. Look, people are going to come after you. They're going to attack your credibility. When your credibility is not in question, what's in question is Mitch Snow's. And we have court documents after court documents after court documents. We have abused woman after abused woman. We have children, which we're getting ready to talk to one of them. As I understand it, he has 4 children?
4. There's 4 that we know of.
And I don't know. So far, I haven't talked to one person that has received child support at all.
Yeah.
Of any significance.
There's nothing. There's like Linda has 1, Cameron, I think. And then Gretchen has 2, a boy and a girl. Mm-hmm. And then Lene has 1.
Yeah. So he's never paid child support. The only child support that I've talked to one person said that it was the state paying child support, and then also garnished his wages one time, which he had the audacity after the state of Washington found an account with money in it, a joint account with another woman that he was mooching off of and grifting. The state took some money, garnished those wages, and gave it to the mother, and he actually called her up and demanded that money back. So that's what we're dealing with. So why this is relevant, folks, for all of you folks that want to live in denial, is when we have somebody that's making up a story out of whole cloth and claims to be a credible eyewitness, when we know that he has a huge, long track record multiple times over of lying, being a pathological liar, coming up with stories time and time again. And I even experienced that. As he's talking to me, he's telling me things that I know are true, and then suddenly, he takes this left turn off into crazy town. He's feeding me a story that I know wasn't true, which was the climbing incident, by the way. And the reason I know that, so just so you guys know, is I'm talking to him a couple of days ago, and on the phone with him for over 2.5 hours. He claims that he was on a climbing team. He was a Green Beret, but he claims he was on a climbing team and fell 80 feet and broke every bone in his body just about. And then he was medically discharged. All right. If you were in service related and you broke the amount of bones that he claims, you would have a immediate medical retirement, almost immediate.
Yeah.
He never
100%.
He never received a medical retirement. And on top of that, the other thing is he's claimed multiple times in documents and on video that he's medically retired. That is a lie as well. Yeah. He's also claimed to be a Special Forces medic. He wasn't. He was an 18 Charlie, which is a Special Forces engineer. I don't know why he would, but again, all the stories that I've heard from time and time again from different people is that he lies needlessly, just making things up. And I don't, because the truth isn't great enough for him, isn't acceptable for him. But that is well known among pathological liars. And I think he is one. And that's why we have this story. And what makes this story even worse is because there is zero chance that a conventional forces joint task force, border patrol, southern border, would be involved in a clandestine operation to assassinate a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil. It is a bonker story to begin with. And the fact that he is a Green Beret, he knows that's not even a credible story. But yet he gets on Candace Owens' show and tells this ridiculous story. And then he expects us all to believe it. And then instead of us expecting any sort of proof of any of his allegations, of proof of Brian Harpole being there, proof of an actual meeting that's being planned to assassinate Charlie Kirk, or proof of Erica Kirk being there, we're in this upside down world where they expect these people, they throw these accusations at them and then blackmail them into proving their innocence. That's not how this works. It's not. Ladies, I'm going to bring his son on just a moment. And is there anything else that you would like to share with the people out there about your experience with Mitch, other things that you want people to know and understand about Mitch as it relates to the story or your story?
He's evil and he will stop at nothing. So I expect to have to extend my 12-year restraining order. Like, it really sucks to see that, but here we are 2.5 years into this, and it's just, he's relentless and without any real evidence. And like, he has these restraining orders and stuff. And even though with Lene, like, I'd like to say one thing, he keeps griping about the fact that he's not seeing his kid. A restraining order doesn't define visitation. Visitation is a separate order altogether. And the judge who recently reissued his restraining order between him and his son told him that, like, if you want visitation, you need to file that documentation separately, because there are ground rules for visitation with your child when your child has a restraining order against you. And instead of doing that, which takes no money at all, just file the documents in court, do what the judge tells you to do, take your meds, go to a therapist, stop drinking, do your drug test, do your alcohol test. He chooses not to do that stuff. And instead, he chooses to attack all of us.
Wait a second. Let me interrupt you. So part of the restraining order requirements is that he's supposed to be taking drug tests and alcohol?
No. If he wanted the visitation with his son, the judge told him that he could file for visitation separately, because the restraining order didn't stop him from filing for visitation.
Gotcha.
It just stopped him from having uncontrolled access to his son.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the judge told him to file for visitation separately, and he just didn't do it. It's been 2.5 years. He didn't do it the first time. He didn't do it the second time earlier this year, after the new order was, reinstated. Lene has to go to court every single year to renew the order between her son and him. And she has to show there's no substantial change. Like, this is not a substantial change on the good for him. Like, he keeps complaining about this stuff, not seeing his kid and not, doing all this stuff, but he does nothing to actually see his kid. He does nothing to make things better. He does nothing to leave me alone, leave Candace alone, leave any of the other victims alone. Like, if he would leave us alone for a good 12 to 24 months, he could file for orders to be dropped for a substantial change, in whatever thing, saying like, hey, I'm not bothering people. Hey, I'm not doing this. But he just keeps this never ending cycle going. Like, he doesn't want to leave us alone. He wants the attention. He wants the fraud, the money, and he's being investigated by Pasco Washington for stolen valor, like the wire fraud, for fraudulent, the charitable fraud, like all that stuff with this $140,000 that he's got now. Candace Owens says that money's for him, his son, and his wife. Well, his wife is Lene Snow. His son is Nathan Snow. Like, the 2/3 of that goes to them.
Yeah. There's two things going on with that. Number one, that money needs to go to his victims, for sure. And I think, the right thing for Candace to do would be to match that. And, she has drug, because she failed to vet this guy in any real way whatsoever, which would have been easy to do. I mean, I Googled his name one time and it pulled up multiple of these records, of these court records, showing that he has multiple charges for protecting orders, domestic violence. Takes 30 seconds, and she didn't do it. And it's because she wanted this story so bad, and she prayed for it, and it was divine intervention that was given to her. It was the first email that she opened up, and now she has this grand conspiracy that the U.S. military was planning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And strangely, that's not even what's alleged. He walks into a building, he sees Brian Harpole, he sees, some lieutenant colonels, and then the night before he saw Erica Kirk, allegedly. With zero proof of any of this stuff, by the way. But that's enough for her to say, hey, there's no way that anything else could possibly happen other than the U.S. government come out and admit that they're involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That's what she opened up that entire story with, and it's bonkers to me.
It's wild. Like, it's insane. And I mean, I watch and listen to Candace Owens, and I was just like baffled whenever I saw Mitch's face there. I was like, oh God, here we go again. Like, what's going to happen this time? Because it's a 6-month difference between Caddis Spinda and then this. And I was expecting the accent and everything to still be there. And then suddenly he's like, GQ cleaned up. And I was like, what happened? I thought he had this permanent brain injury that caused this accent, and now it's just like gone. Like, what?
The condos and stuff. Candace, do you have anything else that you'd like people to know?
Well, all the women out there, and including Amy, who he's currently with, I do expect someday for her to come forward. I do think she's being abused right now. And I'd like to tell all the women, please stay away. He's not worth your life. He's not worth it. He's not worth the loss of you.
You'll become one of us, and he will never stop. Like, we're going on 3 years, a few months away from 3 years of this relentless badgering from him.
Yeah. Hopefully the world can see him for what he is. And then again, I think the real important thing and what is so courageous about what you guys are doing, coming forward and have to put all this information and relive all this stuff and do it publicly, is hopefully prevent future victims. That's what it's all about. And again, I just want to thank you both for coming on. I know we just scratched the surface just on the phone. We talked about so much more. Again, thank you for your courage. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate you both very much. So,
and if you've got all the evidence, so if people drive you too crazy, you can do a whole episode of just evidence alone and not even call anybody. So feel free to do it.
Well, and you all have my number. If there's anything I can do for you, you let me know. And we appreciate you guys.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for getting the truth on this, because this is the first time in 3 years that anyone's cared. So outside of issuing the orders, but it matters.
There's a lot of people out there that care. And so just know that there's a lot of people supporting you guys. People are going to hate on you. There's no doubt about it. I know
they're going to hate on you, but we're still going to try to live our quiet lives. Like, I mean, like you said, you couldn't find me on Facebook.
Yeah. No, I couldn't.
So, right, and then you had the wrong number. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Ladies, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you. I want you guys to have a great day. And like I said, if you need anything from me,
you too. All right. Thanks.
Talk to you later.
All right. Later.
All right. Let me introduce you guys, or I'm going to have him introduce himself. I'm not sure if he wants to use his real name. He's been waiting backstage gracefully and patiently. So welcome to the show. Let's tell everybody who you are, and we're gonna go from there.
I'm Cameron Dowler. I went by Myers for less than a year of my life when I very first started. My mom is Linda Dowler. She was with Harry for a very short amount of time, and in that very short amount of time, while she was still a medic in the U.S. Army, she left him because he was complete deadbeat. No child support, no real interest in pursuing a real relationship of any kind. Kind of left her out to dry, to the point where he had disciplinary action taken against him through the Army, because they kind of take that seriously. My contact with him has been extremely limited. I could have pursued something, but everything I knew about him from stories, from letters, and my mom has a box of letters from him that is just like story after story after story, and it's all fiction. It's not even believable. and she'll admit that now.
Well, Cameron, you're also a veteran. Tell everybody a little bit about, before we get off into that, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your military career. And yeah.
Okay. I was in for a short amount of time, just shy of 6 years, and I've been deployed. I've served with 10th Group, went to Afghanistan, been stationed in Germany, stationed at Fort Carson, Gordon, Benning. And even during that short time, I'm not Special Forces, I'm not Ranger, none of that. I've worked with those guys. I know them well. They would not like him, to say the least. There's something that you learn when working with those guys very quickly, and it's trust your gut intuition. You can know when somebody's like trying to sell you a story, or when they're trying to take advantage of your sympathy. That is Harry Myers to a T.
Now, even when you were young, and you know they were recently separated, divorced, and I've talked to your mother, and she's told me some pretty wild stories. And then I also talked to his second wife, Gretchen, who, you know, we were talking a little bit about you. I was like, hey, you know, what do you know about his previous wife and his son? And apparently, to her, he claimed all throughout their relationship that you were not his son. Did he ever pursue any sort of relationship with you?
Yes.
How did that?
He would call. Most of the time, it's through calling or trying to get in touch through a third person. But at that point, like I was already adopted by my father.
And how old were you at this point?
I was under the age of 3.
Gotcha.
So I've never looked at Harry, or, you know, this like fraudulent, like weird Mitch Snow alias that he's got, and said, oh yeah, that's my dad. No, not once. So I don't have any sort of like emotional investment of any kind with this man. He tried to get in touch with me through an ex-wife, my current wife at the time, when I was in the service early on. Tried to tell her a bunch of stories about how he's gonna like hook us all up. He was a millionaire, and he just had to keep his money hidden, and that he had some places out by the Hood River that we should all move in together when I get out of the service, or something like that. I just remember being on the phone while stationed in Germany, just kind of looking at the phone like, no, what? I don't want that. Why is he talking to you? Block him. Get rid of him on Facebook. Don't talk to this dude. He's a creep.
So when you were younger, before you were adopted, or even maybe afterwards, like was there ever visitation? Was he ever coming to spend time with you?
No.
Was he ever doing any of these types of things?
I have no memories of him ever being physically in my presence.
Gotcha.
0. I've seen some pictures of him every once in a while. I've heard things from my uncle, my grandma, his own mother, my grandmother, wants absolutely nothing to do with him. If he fell off the earth and vanished, or was just written out of existence, she would be happier for it. It says a lot when even a mother's love has its limits.
Yeah.
When somebody is just so willfully untreated and mentally ill that nobody wants to be around them. And it's a pattern. Like, you can see it everywhere you look. Like, if I were to go in, I doubt anybody knows him in the service. If I were to somehow track down the units that he's been in, find the guys who were in those units, and maybe if some of them had gone, you know, green to gold to stay officers so they didn't have to retire, those guys, if they exist, would probably not want to talk about Harry Myers at all. They would probably be wondering, He's not trying to contact me, is he? And that was my word. Like my mom, she was like, I don't know what's going on, but we're getting calls about Harry. And I just remember hearing my mom say it. We were going over for Christmas, and I was like, oh.
Now, I asked, I asked Candace and Aaron about this. Around the time that you were born is when he was claiming that he was on the run from the cartel, that he was in witness protection. Had you ever heard any of the stories like that? Does your mother share?
No, he was in trouble for completely neglecting child support payments.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you know why he changed his name?
Probably because he has a bunch of kids with other people since then that he doesn't have contact with, and probably hasn't paid a single penny of child support willingly. I feel like it feels silly. It's like somebody telling you that a local drunk scam artist down at the gas station is claiming he saw aliens abduct the president. Like his stories, all of it, it's beyond just being wild and stupid to the point of like. Now, I mean, I understand why the conversation needs to happen, but at the same time, I'm just like he just wants attention. There's no point in giving him any of this. Like
now, you're a veteran, and I don't know. Have you watched his claims on Candace Owens? Do you know what he's talking about?
I watched some of them very briefly. I can only stomach so much of that bullshit. They're not going to let him go into anywhere ops center or anything like that.
Yeah.
On any post. Not Huachuca, not Carson, not nowhere, not in the States, not abroad. They're going to make him go through the same center that everybody goes through to get his ID, get it renewed if he doesn't have it to that point. They're going to let him go to the commissary. They're going to let him go to the PX, maybe some of the other amenities on the post, but he doesn't have a secret security clearance.
Or if he does walk into the Joint Task Force staff duty, he might end up detained and outside getting the canines called on him, as per this report, which, again, I don't even know if this report is real or not. There's so much craziness going on with this report. It's not a license plate number.
They called me on September 9th, asking me if I knew anything about a Mitch Snow, and telling me that I was listed as his number one emergency contact. And I just remember sitting there for like a minute, like, I don't know Mitch Snow. I don't know why I'd be on somebody's emergency contact list. Like,
so you weren't even aware of his name change, or you just forgot about it, or like you just weren't aware.
I wasn't aware
at all.
Okay. I don't, like I said, like I really, like, it's just one of those. I just don't think about the guy really.
So you were called by, I guess, military police on September 9th. And about what time was that?
Let's see. Bear with me just a second here. I might be able to look this up fast.
Yeah, no worries. Take your time. I know you were waiting backstage for a long time, so we appreciate your patience. While you're looking that up, what I'll do is I'll cover a couple of these super chats. We got Love and Jesus 77. Everybody that gave to Mitch was scammed. Request a refund immediately. I couldn't agree more. And thank you for that very generous super chat. Candace Owens initially said that she'll connect Mitch to another podcaster for a live, but then a few days later, she hosted him. One would wish she'd do a basic background check before hosting him. So curious. Yeah, especially with such a big story. I mean, when you have such a big story and the entire story is riding on the credibility of the person conveying it, you'd think you'd want to do a background check on them. That would be the common sense thing to do. Candace Allen 4681, thank you for your service, all you warriors. And Cameron, thank you for your service too, buddy. We appreciate it. One of the things I told your mother this, it's a shame how things turned out to some extent, but I think, you know, it sounds like you got a great dad.
I do.
Had a great life, and, you know, it all worked out for the best so that you could grow up and be the man that you are today. And
Him not being a part of my life is probably one of the best things that could have ever happened.
I couldn't agree more. God always had a plan.
So I looked it up. September 9th, it was around 12:30 that they called.
12:30. And what time zone are you on?
I'm in Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, so that would have been Pacific Standard Time too, because Arizona in September is basically on Pacific Standard Time because they do not recognize daylight savings. So 12:30. Did they give you any other information when they had him detained and they call you? Did they tell you?
They wanted to know if I knew anyone else that was on his emergency contact list.
Okay.
They wanted to know if any of the information on them was correct or anything like that. And I told them basically, like, I have no idea.
Sure.
I haven't talked to any of his other kids. I haven't spoken to his ex-wives or the people that he's abused and been around. I've been blissfully not having to deal with his issues.
I don't know. Is there anything else that you want people to know about him, or I don't know,
to not trust him? Don't like, it's all stories. His father had some sort of like degenerative mental disorder that was like, you know, part of that was the pathological liar sort of thing. I don't know what he claims his reasons are for stopping talking to his dad. Nobody else in my family or that's like connected to him through some sort of familial bond, whether active or not, estranged or not, wants any contact with him. Yeah. They don't really want to be contacted about him. My grandmother, my uncle, they want absolutely nothing to do with him. They don't want to be poked about it, called, mentioned, brought up in conversation by him or other people. Like,
well, I have talked to his two other adult children, and they said the exact same thing. They're younger than you, but they said the exact same thing. That's the exact same story that I heard from them. Like, we don't want anything to do with this guy, and
he's a grifter.
So you have maintained a relationship with the Myers side of the family. Sounds like, with your grandmother, with your uncle, but not your father.
Correct.
Your biological father. And has your grandmother given any reason as to why, or your uncle?
She says he always wants money. He's always being manipulative. He's always stories, taking advantage of people's sympathies, that he's violent. He's not trustworthy. She wants absolutely nothing to do with him. Every time he's brought up in conversation, she will very adamantly state that she does not want to talk about it, does not want to ruin the conversation by talking about him, wants nothing to do with him. I talked to my uncle very briefly after that phone call, for the first time in years, or really ever as an adult. And it wasn't even really about Harry. I just wanted to make sure that my grandma was all right, and if anything happened to her, that we would still stay in contact. He comes up as an afterthought.
Gotcha.
And I mean, he lives in another world. He's got his little kooky drama that he lives in, and it's not mentally healthy. I mean, it may not be tested or anything like that, but for those people out there that are struggling with mental illness of some kind, if you feel like you have to tell a bunch of stories to have an interesting life, like, I recommend getting therapy, seeing people that will help you, and then maybe, you know, not directly worsening the problem. I know that can be challenging, but I also don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard either, because there's just so much that doesn't add up with anything You can't trust anything about him. It's all a fabrication. For what purpose? I don't know. Attention? But, I mean, you'll know someone by the fruits of their work, their labor, who they are, what they do, not by what they say. If we were going by what he says, then he would have a very large network of other veterans, friends, and family that would probably willingly be around him, because it takes a certain caliber of man and just person in general to be able to accomplish some of these claims that he says that he's done, and there's none of it. I have doubts as to any of his time in service being portrayed accurately.
Yeah, I mean, so far, all the service related documents that we have, I mean, he was in special operations. It was a very short time, and things seemed to go downhill very quickly after that. But I can understand your skepticism there, because I was too. I mean, this is not even talking to this guy and finally having him send me his DD-214. I've never talked to another Green Beret like this guy. I've never seen another Green Beret.
I'm surprised you stayed on the phone with him for 2 hours. I'm going to be real honest with you, Fred. That sounds like torture.
It was interesting, to say the least. Well, listen, Cameron, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on. I think your story is important. And I think people need to wake up and realize what's going on with this story and really the broader picture of what's going on with the Charlie Kirk assassination, and just wake up and understand that, evidence is what dictates truth. If something happened and something's true, then there's evidence for it. And
yeah.
we shouldn't be forcing, people that are being accused to prove their innocence. That's just, again, it's just not how things are supposed to work here in the United States. Not how
Especially not in such a tragic situation. Don't let a con artist take over a very real tragedy for his own benefit.
Yeah.
There are real victims out there. His own victims, as well as Charlie Kirk and his family. They don't need any of this. Not from Candace, not from him, especially not from him. Don't let him take this as his own thing where he's victimized once more. He's not a victim.
Yeah.
He's just a con artist.
Well, I couldn't sum it up any better than that. Is there anything else you want people to know?
That's everything. Just, trust but verify.
I agree. Well, listen, Cameron, we really appreciate you coming on. And again, thank you for your service. Thank you for being the man that you are and willing to come on and share your story. I think it's important. And you have my phone number. If there's anything I can ever do for you, feel free to reach out anytime. Be glad to.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
You
God
as well,
bless.
man. Hope you guys had a great Christmas.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
All right, folks. So that's where we're at in all of this. I'm going to get to some more super chats, then we'll go through here and we'll start taking some questions. Additional questions in the live chat. Of course, I actually scrolled up here and jacked this up. Oh, God. Candace said she vetted him completely. Candace set up a Give, Send, Go account, which the last time I checked was over $141,000. Candace knew what he was and didn't care. She knew. It's hard to believe that she didn't. I agree. Stay strong. Thank you, Lucky. Hey, Gary, Candy is in our basement watching and punching air right now. Hi, Candace. Hey, girl. Hey. Indeed. The court needs to intercept the GoFundMe money to pay the child support he owes. I couldn't agree more to that. That's for sure. We'll get down here and we'll answer some, throw up some of these live comments. Candace is a narcissist who lacks empathy, morality, integrity. If that's not obvious to you by her actions and what she's done to Charlie's friends and family, then you're blind or you're lacking those things too. Candace said she knew. Fed. That'll get you banned. Not dealing with your ad hominem nonsense. If you have nothing to add to the conversation, couldn't care less. Go Max, Candace. Go Max. If that's Max, keep going. Exactly. She knew she only wanted his BS slop to prove whatever narrative he led to. Agreed. Candace, he's taking questions. It's your time to shine. We'll take questions from Candace. Trey, yes, he was. We watched it live. The exploding mic conspiracy theory is utter nonsense. Agree. Thank you for your service, Cameron. You're a stand-up man. I agree. I appreciate him coming on. Pretty little psyop. I know it was BS, and I'm not military. I just have common sense, and no one that enters WITSEC rarely comes out on streams and all over the internet. You lay low the rest of your life. Not only that, several years ago, there's also video of him going on a dive trip that I'm assuming, I don't know this is speculation, but the whole thing that it was, the way that it was portrayed was, I think he got a free trip because he was a veteran or a disabled veteran or something like that. Ironically, it was down to Mexico. Which I don't think that if I was worried about the cartels finding me, I'd be going to them. I do not believe Candace. She is hate-filled. I don't know what that last word is. So as of now, we know Mitch was in fact at Fort Huachuca the morning of the 9th and was intercepted by MPs. Does Mitch have anything else to back up his story? No, he doesn't. We don't have any pictures. And that's the thing. Like, again, who cares if he was there? Like, that is not the material portion of the story. He doesn't even make any claims. The claims consist of that he walked into this building, he saw several lieutenant colonels and colonels, and then he saw Brian Harpole that morning, and then the night before he saw Erica Kirk. And the report that Candace sent out as proof that he was there, in my mind, debunks the entire thing, because she said it happened at 7:37. That's when she said it happened. And I'm going to read this again. So on Tuesday, 09 September 2025 at 11:17. All right. That is over 3 hours past what we were talking about at 7:37. The Fort Huachuca Military Police was notified by Daniel Head of a suspicious individual. Upon arrival, patrol spoke with CW2 Daniel Head, who stated that the individual entered the building with a backpack, making concerning comments. The backpack was taken away and placed outside on the north side of the building and called the police station. All right. So this is what took place. An individual entered the building with a backpack, making concerning statements. The backpack was taken away and placed outside on the north side of the building. So how much time does that take? How much time? Because right after that, they called the military police. We're talking 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 minutes. Let's say it took 30 minutes. But that's going to put this at around 10:30 a.m. at the earliest. So their own sloppy document that has incorrect license plate numbers, has incorrect driver's license, has at least transposed different building numbers. This is the proof that Candace gave that this situation took place. And this proves that that entire scenario did not take place at 7:37 a.m. It happened no earlier than 10:30 a.m. by their own document and by their own proof. So again, quit demanding proof from the accused and start providing or demanding proof from the accusers. All right. It is on Mitchell Snow to provide any sort of evidence that he actually saw Brian Harpole. He has to provide any evidence that he saw Erica Kirk. He has to provide some sort of evidence stating that not only did he see a meeting, but this meeting had some sort of relationship to the Charlie Kirk assassination. The whole story is dumb. It's just dumb. It didn't happen. They may have had a meeting. Brian Harpole wasn't there. We have proof of that. I don't care if you guys want to accept it or not. I have additional proof that we're not going to show you because he doesn't need to. All right. Erica Kirk wasn't there. We have proof of that. And here's another thing. All these people want to talk smack about me accidentally sharing the picture that Andrew Colvett asked me not to share. All right. It was the picture. He didn't. I was texting him. All right. I was on their show. I had his information. This information come up. I texted him and was like, hey, do we have any proof that Erica Kirk, where was Erica Kirk? I meant to say the 8th. I said September 9th. He sent me that picture. I gave it to, put it up there. And again, I'm sitting there doing a podcast and everything else. And all I did was screen grab, throw it up there. Didn't realize he said, hey, don't share the picture. My bad. A little faux pas. But you know what I didn't do? What I didn't do is tell the world that the U.S. military planned the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and then I didn't platform this guy that is a serial abuser of women, is a serial liar, is a serial manipulator, is a serial con artist. All right, that's what I didn't do. So if you want to say I made a mistake, fine, I made a mistake. Mistakes happen. But what I didn't do is something like this. So don't even, you can talk all the smack you want. Candace can make her silly little videos and sound psycho in the videos, by the way. But there's no comparison, because what she has done, what I did was a little mistake. What she has done should be a career-ending move. That's what that should be. Because what she has done to continue to blame TPUSA, to accuse TPUSA of murder, to accuse Erica Kirk of murder, and all these other people involved, the French Foreign Legion, Israel, now the U.S. military, people in maroon shirts, like, it's ridiculous. So you can continue to talk all the smack. It's not going to stop me. We're still going. We're going to go Tuesday. I'm going to have Lene on. And that whole story with their young son is absolutely horrific. The things that he's done to that woman, has accused that woman of, and the courts saw right through it, is the worst story. The worst story I've ever heard. So that's coming. That's coming. And if Candace had any bit of integrity and had any conscience, right now she would, number one, pull down that fund. She would denounce this entire story. And she would, look, I think most people, and definitely her audience, like, she can do no wrong. Like, hey, you know what? I got taken for a ride. I was wrong on this. I shouldn't have pursued it. I shouldn't have started victim blaming these women. So that's what she should do if she had any integrity whatsoever. And you know what? All of her people that are following her now are going to be following her. She's going to come up with another story next week, another crazy story about French assassins, Israelis, killing people with magic dreidels. I don't know what she's got going on. All right. And for the record, TPUSA has never paid me a cent. I do this for free, of my own volition, my own accord, because I think it's important. Period. And you can believe it or not. I don't care. I really don't. All right. We got some more super chats here. Let's hit those. Yeah. Tammy McDonald. We love you, Tammy. I see you always here. I always see you on X. Love the support that you give the channel. Thank you very much. And us. I can't believe that people are still defending Candace Owens. Debbie Brzezinski, thank you once again for shedding light on all the BS. Do you know these new claims she is spewing about Erica texting Andrew for an alibi for the meeting of 9/9? Yeah, it comes from my show that I was doing last night. Again, we were talking about it. Either during or right before. I don't remember. I texted him. I knew we were going to talk about this. It's like, hey, is there any evidence of, where Erica was? And he sent it to me. It was no secret that I was getting it from Andrew Colbeck. Okay. I'm not like, he didn't direct it. I requested it. And then I accidentally said, hey, on September 9th. But here's the thing about this, folks. All right. And this is where the allegations get stupid and stop making sense. You can take that proof or not, I don't really care, of where Erica was. Erica was never at Fort Huachuca. That in itself is just stupid. But here, what we're saying and what Candace's crowd is saying is that, okay, Erica Kirk was involved with this meeting. We saw her. Mitchell Snow claims that he saw her on the night or the evening of the 8th. But we have a text message that shows that she was actually back at home, specifically at TPUSA headquarters, I believe. And you gotta understand, it's not like she took this picture. She had to go back in her Rolodex of pictures on her, phone and find one from about that time. All right. And I don't think that's her kid at all. All right. She just took a picture of probably some kids, friends, or whatever else going on. Like this is what Candace always does. She takes the benign and turns it into this big grand conspiracy. Like, oh my God, this is not even her kid. Well, okay. It's probably someone else's kid. I got pictures of my friends' kids on my phone playing with my kids. It's something that normal people do. So again, I asked Andrew this. He freaking asked Erica, hey, do you have any pictures that you can show that shows where you're at on the 9th? Because me, in the middle of everything, I asked for the 9th instead of the 8th. But here's the problem. Going back to this. She's there on the 8th. The meeting's the morning of the 9th. But what we need is an alibi for like, why would she not be going to that meeting? Why would she be there and not actually attend the meeting or be there for the meeting? Like, you people don't even make sense. It's an incoherent nonsense. That's just, so there's that. And that's where that came from. Candace O should ditch George and marry Mitch. It's a much better match. She could be his sugar mama. He likes sugar mamas. That's very clear. It's bad when your mom wants nothing to do with you. I agree. Thanks, Cameron, for speaking out, and thank you for your service. It's brave of you. You're probably putting the target on your back with this stuff. All these people are, and you guys can already see it in the chat. And right now I'm just on the super chats, but when you hear all these people that are Candace Owen sycophants, and they're part of a cult, that are victim blaming, that are calling these people out, like, oh, this has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with it, except for when you don't have a brain. When you have Candace brain rot, and you can't think and you don't understand that, hey, his testimony is based on his credibility. All right, we got no evidence. All we have is credibility. And this is like the least credible person on the face of the planet. Probably one of the least credible people ever. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah. Cameron oozes true patriot. As a veteran, it's disturbing to see Mitch, a vet, behave in this way. What a disgrace. Thank a veteran today and shake their hand if you can. Happy New Year, Scouts out. Happy New Year to you, buddy. Happy New Year to everybody out there. I hope everybody out there has the best year they've ever had. Why was he at Fort Huachuca? Doesn't he live in Washington? Long trip. I know I drive for a living, a little close to the border if the cartel is after you. We've never gotten that. He claims that he went down there to get military records. I doubt that's true. Hey, look, and he's with another woman that I guarantee you is funding his life. Her name's Amy Snow. And I'm sure he fed her a story. And this is speculation. All right. It's just me talking off the top of my head. But, you know, he probably want to go on a road trip and say, hey, you know what? Let's go down Fort Huachuca and get some military records. Like, you can mail those things. You can get those electronically. You don't need to go down there to get. Now, his story is that there's these classified records of a drug bust that was public. There's videotapes of it. He wasn't even involved. And we know he wasn't involved because I have his AAM write-up that talks about when he was supporting down there. And that's the thing that we see time and time again, is that he went down to support the border operations back in 1990. And then probably before or after or whatever else. Look, here's one of the things that he told me when I asked him about the story. And this is where I'm talking about, where you hear bits of truth and then we go off into crazy town. He was conveying the story to me. He's like, yeah, you know, we got literally tons and tons. This is what he told me. Tons and tons of cocaine. And it was all in the back of the truck. And they were like, hey, you're like one of the lowest ranking guys out here. You got to go burn all that stuff. He said, he was made responsible for burning literally tons of drugs in piles and destroying piles of rifles and other weapons. That's not how we do this. We don't just take cocaine or whatever drugs it was, heroin, cocaine, I don't know even what it was. And we just put it there and we put Private Snuffy in charge of freaking burning this while he just sits there. The DEA would handle that. The DEA would seize those drugs and take them off. You're not giving it to Private Snuffy and just like, oh, put it in a bonfire. Like, this is the stuff that I'm talking about. He probably did go down there. He probably did place some sensors and support border operations for a TDY deployment down there. And then at some point, either that drug bust occurred before or occurred after, and then he inserted himself into it, came up with this cartel, witness protection. His commanders gave all of his information. And insane. And, you know, that's the thing too, is like, I literally have a Army Achievement Medal write up for that after he got back from it. There's no mention in there about assisting with a drug bust. That would be in there because that's something that you would put in there to support him getting the award. Nothing's mentioned there. Just, hey, you did support operations down at the border. So there's that. I'm with you 100%. Theo is ridiculous and spins it all. At least you own your mistakes. Erica owes no one anything. I couldn't agree more. Erica is the victim in this, and what Candace Owen has done to TPUSA out of spite, envy, malice, whatever is motivating her. I don't know. It's disgusting. I guess the only silver lining is that Mitch didn't beat the blonde he saw. 5 more minutes. She might have been in danger. I think we have great proof that we can trust Erica and Brian H. Seems like Charlie shit canned the ones that couldn't be trusted. I agree. Brian Harpole is what we're talking about. What are Mitch's convictions? I know he has a domestic violence against Candace. I don't know what else. He has multiple restraining orders. He has had multiple restraining orders with every woman that he's ever been associated with any length of time, as far as I can tell. So, I mean, there's like 6 or 7, but he does have at least one domestic violence conviction with Candace. So we're still trying to get some of that information in that paperwork. And by the way, Lene, which she shared a lot of information and gave that to Nate, he posted that during his live stream last night. If you haven't seen all that paperwork, a lot of that paperwork that I have right now, he already went through. I didn't want to go through it again. But we're going to have Lene on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And there'll at least be elements of that we go through, because her story is by far the most horrific of what's been done and perpetrated by this guy. This really does support Candace's credibility. Okay. I guess if you are somewhere in La La Land, I guess it makes sense. Like I can't even make sense with these Candace followers anymore. Like nothing you tell them. I don't even know what to say. You can give them proof of anything and they will still believe Candace because she's their cult leader. Projection 101 from Candace and her followers accusing everyone else of going insane over Fort Huachuca, but they're the ones going insane over it being debunked. Exactly right. Not participate in the insanity. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that any of this makes sense anymore. I'm done with it. Clandestine operations by the military is such a crazy idea, right, Gary? It is. Okay. I was in special operations. I've never done clandestine operations in the United States against U.S. citizens. That is not a function of the military. All right. That would be a function of, and it's still illegal unless they have warrants or some other things like that. But to actually assassinate somebody, that would take the deepest, darkest pits of the blackest sites of the CIA if they're going to assassinate somebody. What they're not going to go do is go down to the Joint Task Force Southern Border, where you have primarily 90% conventional forces who don't even have security clearances, and then go in there and you're going to sit there and brief this mission in front of a bunch of freaking staff officers. There is a 0 chance that would ever happen. Those staff officers are like, I'm not doing this. This is illegal. What are you talking about? We're going to go to jail for the rest of our lives. We're going to completely ruin our careers and go to jail. Like, it's illegal. It won't be done. Especially at Joint Task Force Southern Border. It's retarded. Oh, man. In just a world, the Macron lawsuit would bankrupt her and her husband, Alex Jones level lawsuit. I agree. All right. Why are you friends with Andrew K? Obviously, you are for TP Israel. Not all are. Candace fans, many of us see through the lies of TPUSA. First of all, I'm not friends with Andrew Colvett. He invited me on the show. I didn't talk to him for the first time other than like a week and a half ago. Whenever I was on the show, the first time I talked to him was 2 days before I went on the show. Never talked to the guy personally, ever. Never talked to anybody from TPUSA. He asked me if I wanted to come on the show and talk about a couple different issues. So I'm happy to. All right. Because I had his contact information from that, I said, what the hell? I'll take a chance, send him a text. Hey, Andrew, do we have any proof of where Erica was on the 9th? I messed that up. Should have been the 8th. All right. Bonehead thing. We all do it. And he gave me that proof. All right. And then at the bottom there, he said, don't share the picture. That's what he was talking about. All right. I was going to tell you, I think I did. I was like, hey, I just got this text from Andrew Colvett. Regardless, the point is like, I wasn't supposed to share the picture. I messed up. I'm sitting there doing all these things. That's the honest to God truth. You guys try to turn this to some weird conspiracy. I'm directed by Andrew Colvett, all these other things. I asked him because I had his phone number. All right. And I put him in a bad position. And now he's being accused of all this crazy stuff because of my mistake. It was my mistake. I own it. My bad. I feel terrible because now all this stuff is going around where she's giving her more fuel for the fire of making these crazy allegations. You are obviously for TP Israel. Not all are. I am for TP USA. All right. I was absolutely, for the first 2 months or so, I'd say about a month, I was completely open to the idea that maybe TP USA or other people were involved until we saw the evidence come out with Tyler Robinson. I was open to all of these options. I went to UVU. I did an investigation. I talked to multiple eyewitnesses. All of the eyewitnesses have said the exact same thing. The shot came from the Lossy Center building. Like, we look at the evidence we have going on there. And by the way, the reason I started doing this was because I was a huge fan. I loved Charlie Kirk before this started. Huge fan. Huge fan. Definitely supported TP USA. I see no reason not to support TP USA now because all we've gotten is a bunch of smears from Candace and her ilk saying that, they're guilty of this, they're guilty of this because people acted weird. No tangible evidence whatsoever. No real evidence. It's just vibes, feels, thoughts from a person that is already prejudiced against them to begin with. So yeah, I do support TP USA. And I'm not afraid to say that. I am indifferent to Israel. I really couldn't care less about Israel. I never have. Don't really care. What I care about is the conservative politics and politics that support and defend our way of life here in the United States, traditional way of life, and support and defend the Constitution. That's what I believe. That's what I've always pushed on this channel, other than the fact that we're a gun channel. I've always talked politics, always talked about conservative politics / libertarian. I want the smallest government possible. That's what I've always been about, and that's what I am about. And it hasn't changed. And the fact is, most people that are going after Charlie Kirk now hated Charlie Kirk when he was alive, hated TPUS when he was alive, and now that he's dead, they're trying to do what they couldn't do while he was alive, and that is finish off TPUSA. TPUSA and Charlie Kirk are 100% responsible for us reelecting Donald Trump, and he is why we beat Kamala Harris. And I want to win the midterms, and I want to win 2028, and that's the only way that we're going to do it. There are people that are politically opposed. We also have foreign adversaries that are taking advantage of this and are definitely exploiting Candace Owen herself, pushing all this stuff because it's damaging to our country. It's damaging to the conservative movement. And we are going to lose the midterms if we're on this trajectory. And because of this, we're also going to lose 2028 if we stay on this trajectory. Those are all facts. So you can sit there and say, oh, you like TPUSA. Yeah, I do. They're one of the most positive and powerful political forces on my side of the aisle that we've ever seen. And I want them to continue doing the great work that they do. I don't care if you don't like them or not. In a world, we covered that one. To the candies, what happened to Delaware and the Red Crane that all led to her attorney's office? What happened to the assassination plot of Candace? Is that over with? Is that gone? Did we nip that in the bud? Did Kash Patel take care of that? What happened to that? What happened to the idea that it was the French Foreign Legion, Israel, and U.S. military? She originally said National Guard, which is also crazy. And I don't know, some people in maroon shirts that were actually responsible for assassinating Charlie Kirk to begin with. What happened to that whole narrative? Now that we have this Fort Huachuca narrative, is that gone? Like, I don't even know what's going on here. None of it's coherent. And it's just all over the place. It's fun, but it's actually serious stuff, and people should take it seriously. It's pretty weird that Candace Owens had a live stream on September 9th and September 11th, but not on September 10th. Where the F was Candace when Charlie was killed? I mean, it's a great question. It's a great question. She should come on my podcast. She wants to prove her innocence. She should come on my podcast and answer some hard questions. Yeah. We got some more super chats. Let's address those. Things keep jumping on me. Charlie got rid of Candace Owens for a reason. It's obvious why he did it. She's a cancer to TPUSA. It's disgusting what she's doing. Hurts my heart. It is pretty terrible. Candace is involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. This is all deflection. I'm 100% convinced. That's what she would say. Thinks she boxed me. Thinks she boxed me. It'll be the Tennessee Redneck event of 2026. Candace want to box. We can have ring guys. Mr. Gary, thanks for your service and all that you do. That'd be pretty funny to watch. Charlie asked questions, but they were backed up with facts, not emotional accusations that stem from personal trauma. That's true. You are an absolute tool to sit there and nuke Mitch's character while sucking up Donald Trump. It's hilarious. Be ashamed of yourself. Sell out. All right. See, this is what I'm talking about. Most of her supporters are never Trumpers to begin with. That's the crazy thing about this. Like, there is no better option than Donald Trump. A lot of things to criticize about Donald Trump. I'm with you on a lot of them. There's a lot of things that we still have questions about when it comes to the Charlie Kirk assassination. I still want to know if he was influenced, radicalized, or weaponized by somebody outside, period. Whether that was via internet, whether that was by the Salt Lake City Queers with Guns groups. You know, there's a lot of things going on that haven't been investigated. I don't think that Tyler Robinson acted alone. I don't. I think there are other people involved. At a minimum, Lance Twiggs knew about this. I think all those text messages were set up to exonerate Lance Twiggs. I think that's why, one of the reasons why they look so odd and sound so odd. I think they were engineered by, at a minimum, Tyler Robinson to exonerate Lance Twiggs. So there's that. I support Donald Trump. MAGA. This is MAGA country. So F off. So we should all just ignore the millions of dollars that disappeared at TPUSA and canceled Doge. We haven't seen any evidence of this. Okay, according to the IRS and everybody, look, where these allegations come from are people that are outside of the organization, that are claiming to do any sort of forensic accounting from outside the organization. They're looking at all these different tax filings and things like that. The problem with some of those things, and I know this because I've seen it done even with our own businesses, is the fact that these tax filings, they don't actually hit public record in a timely manner. Like, they could be behind on certain things. So when you look these things up, it can look fishy from the outside in. We have no evidence of any money being missing. And even if we did, there is zero chance that TPUSA would get rid of their cash cow that is Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was TPUSA. He is the golden goose. So if there's a couple $1 million missing somewhere, number one, we don't have any evidence of that. Again, it's baseless allegations that we hear time and time again. So that's my opinion on that. You guys got to quit. Like, I mean, just demand some evidence. It's not that hard. Funny how all the peeps Candace Owens accuses she has access to grind with him. Yeah, it is strange. TPUSA, Israel, the French. I mean, just, it's so convenient that it just all came together. That's what we got going on. And she doesn't understand the military. She has some sort of animus towards the military, just the way that she talks about the military. I mean, I pick up on that immediately. Why does she only address you instead of Valhalla, who did the video and who actually supports her? I think the last part of that says it all. I don't know. So I don't even know what she says. I don't care what she says. It's not going to change what I'm doing. All right. We're in this for the long haul. So keep the arrows coming, buddy. I'm going max. All right. That just tells me I'm over the target. I don't know. Who cares? Trump is in the Epstein files, and somehow that's not as bad as Mitch's shitty pass. LMFAO, can't make it up. Look, if Trump is in the Epstein files and there are credible charges or credible allegations against him, that it's one thing to be in the Epstein files. It's a whole nother thing to have any sort of evidence of impropriety. If he is, I'm with everybody. Like, I don't care if it's Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump. I think he's the best politician, the best president we could have right now. But I mean, if we could prove that he's a pedophile outside of just being in the files, like, I'm with you guys. Let's go, Max. Taking the Sing. I'm with you. Just provide the evidence. Like, that's the problem with all of the Candace Owen crowd. It's all based on emotion and who they like and who they don't like. And there's evidence they accept if, they don't like somebody, and you give them either counter evidence or evidence against for a different narrative that they don't appreciate, won't accept. They reject it outright. Like, you got to be intellectually honest and just accept the facts as they are and the evidence, and let the cards land where they land. Like, that's the way it should be. All emotion with people. I don't like this person. So, like that's what Democrats do. Like, they target people. It's like, first they determine who their enemy is, and then they try to build a case against them. And that's what everybody's doing with this. That's what Candace has done. She thinks she doesn't like TPUSA. So we're going to nitpick. We're going to analyze everything. We're going to say, oh my God, Andrew Colvett, just trying to make people feel better, said something silly about, Charlie Kirk having a Superman neck. Oh my God, that's proof. That's proof they're in on it. That is not technically correct. He lied. We all know that he doesn't have a Superman neck. It's not made of steel. Like, what are you talking about? The guy was like, Charlie just died. He wasn't prepared for everybody to start. It's so dumb that he wasn't prepared for everybody to start blaming them. He just put out a statement that was, meant to make people feel better. And you guys pick it apart as if it's some sort of technical assessment. Or I don't know if he said that or the doctor said that. I know we got some quotes. I know nobody out there ever mistypes things or anything like that. Like, you take these minor things that mean nothing and you turn them into the base of your conspiracy, and it's effing dumb. Like, get some evidence. Some real evidence. I don't know, maybe like DNA on the gun, DNA on the trigger, DNA on the spent cartridge, DNA on the towel, DNA on the unfired cartridges, video evidence, the fact that he was there. He was 3.5 hours away from his home. He has a gun that is his. There's just so much evidence that points to Tyler Robinson that people just want to reject altogether, while Candace is out there still saying, oh, what do you expect us to believe? This Fed slop that he scaled a building like Spider-Man? He didn't scale a building like Spider-Man. You walk up the stairs, you go out there. It's all these things that she constantly says, and many other people parrot, all her downstreamers. They just, again, they're a bunch of lemmings, and they say the exact same things, and they reject real evidence while they pursue things that have zero evidence supporting them and a lot of evidence against them. That's what we got going on. Candace is now sided with everyone that hated Charlie when he was alive. Everything he loved and protected, she is attacking. She hated him. Sure appears that way. It's asinine to think the FFL, a volunteer service, has people lining up to be some type of global hit squad. The French Foreign Legion, yes, it is. And even if they did, I don't know enough about the French Foreign Legion to be able to say what they do or they don't do. I don't think that's within their scope of operations. That being said, maybe they do. Maybe they have some secret squirrel special operations branch where they do. The fact that they're going to come to the United States and do that and potentially expose themselves at a public event when they could have taken Charlie out in different ways. This is the dumbest way to do it. The dumbest way to do it. And I've said this 100 times. Like, the idea that we have the most sophisticated militaries on the planet. We have the French, we have the United States, and we have Israel that are supposedly coming up with an assassination plan that they're going to assassinate somebody in broad daylight in a public space. We didn't see them. We didn't hear them. We don't know where they were. They got away with it clean. But now we're saying, oh, they killed him with a different caliber. Like the only thing out of all that beautiful planning that works so well, very sophisticated, complicated, pulled it off without a doubt, but they accidentally left the patsy with a 30-06. That's what you believe? It's dumb. All right. None of the YouTubers would even have content if it wasn't for Candace trying to make sense of Charlie's death. She has vested interest in the truth. Do you? Yeah, I do. And it's called the truth. It's the only thing I care about. Only thing I care about. Thank you, Brenda Jimenez. All right. We'll get a few more of these ones and we'll call it a day. Bump's totally insane. Thank you for letting me know. It sounded crazy, Rosie, but John made a compelling argument for someone like me who knows nothing about ballistics. Appreciate you. Not talking to me, but there you go. These people will never care about facts. I couldn't agree more. Candace doesn't affect my allegiance to MAGA. Trump did that by being absolute liar and failure. And that's fine. Look, there's a lot of people that are very disappointed, and I am as well when it comes to Trump. There are many aspects of his administration that I wish were better, including Kash Patel, Pam Bondi especially. And that's for a lot of reasons about her politics and policies and the things that she pushed before she ever got into the administration. All of that is fair. What I think we all need to be careful of is having this bias against certain people, administration, even organizations like TPUSA, and allowing those biases to turn into accusations that are unfounded. Like, just as Americans, we need to have, I don't know, a little bit of integrity and be like, look, stop. We're Americans. This is the way that we do things. We don't accuse people without evidence. We just don't do that. And we sure don't accuse people without evidence and then demand that they prove their innocence. That's some third world, Banana Republic, Salem witch trials, Gestapo nonsense. Not what we do. And the people that are doing that, you should be ashamed of yourselves. That is one of the most un-American things that you can possibly do. Angie Warren, RN, Candace has been a grifter since high school. She's not a nice or good person. This is very true. It's easier to fool people than to convince them they've been fooled. Couldn't agree more. U.S. military conducted a sophisticated operation in Sudan, and people think Egyptian planes need to follow Erica for 2 years. Yeah, like this idea that the planes followed TPUSA, like, again, what they're really saying, the underlying allegation is that it's Israel. Israel has one of the best cyber operations on the planet. All right. They could have put software on everybody's phone without them knowing it. They could track everything they're doing, hear everything they're saying, or something even easier, embed a source. They pay somebody to be the best assistant to Erica, if that's who they want to follow, to Charlie, whatever else. Like, they can get these people put into the right place. Now you have real-time information. The thing that Candace and all our other people are alleging is that we have these planes that are following her, or TPUSA in general. It's moving around. We're changing the goalpost a little bit. Plus or minus 3 days, plus or minus 100 miles. It's not like even what they're alleging is like, hey, you know what? We have Erica's plane lands at this airport, and just right behind it, we have this other plane that lands there. I don't know why you'd do that. It seems like a waste of time. That's not even what's being said. What they're saying is one day, Erica's plane lands, could fly off that same day, 2 days later, whatever else. And then another plane not only lands a couple days later or before it, a couple days before it, but it could be at a whole different airport. It's plus or minus 100 miles. So that's where they're making this overlap. Make that make sense for me. Like, what kind of idiot do you have to believe to believe that that's some sort of, I don't know, practical surveillance? Dumb. Cloudence is up against a law firm that won the biggest defamation suit in the country. One of the things we are going to do is we're going to get the defamation lawyer on the channel, and we're going to go through the French defamation, the Macron defamation lawsuit against Candace, and look at the strengths of that, and just find out the information that they have included in it. I think that's really important. Paramount Tactical Rashomon effect. In moments of traumatic events, witnesses tend to have different stories built on exaggerations that speak to their point of focus at the time. We covered this the other day. One of the things, I forgot what episode it was, but we were doing a live stream of Candace's episodes. And she said, oh, I know what it was. It was the live stream she had right after she got back from talking to Erica Kirk. And she talked about the fact that Erica Kirk gave Candace all the information, the phone logs of Mikey McCoy, to show who he called. And she was going through that and like, oh, look, he called this person first and didn't call the person that he said he called first. And, you know, when you're in a traumatic situation, this is what she said. And we all know this from health class from 6th grade. You're locked in. You're really paying attention. You should be able to pay attention better. You're going to remember facts better. That is the opposite of the facts. I actually, in fact, I'm going to pull it up because it's important. We're going to pull up what the actual symptoms of stress does to the mind. Let me see. Here we go. Memory under stress. I knew I had this. This is something that I already pulled up at one point. I'm going to show you this right here. I'll go ahead and throw this up there just so that you guys know how people's minds actually react to stress. I got to pull this other thing off the view from studio. Freaking mouse is acting dumb. All right, so let me get rid of this question, comment, and go to right here. All right, so under severe stress, memory doesn't just get worse in a simple way. It becomes selective, distorted, and sometimes fragmented. This happens because stress hormones directly affect the brain system that form and retrieve memories. Stress hormones reshape memory formation. Severe stress triggers surge of adrenaline and cortisol. We get tunnel memory, not tunnel vision. People often remember central threat details very clearly, but lose peripheral information. Memory fragmentation. Instead of continuous narrative, memories may be stored as sensory fragments, emotional states without context. This is why people under trauma may say, I know it happened, but I can't put it in order. Parts are missing. It comes back in flashes. Time distortion. Under extreme stress, events may feel slowed down or sped up. Duration estimates become unreliable. Sequence errors are common. Recall becomes unstable over time. Long-term memory affects trauma. Long-term memory affects trauma-related. Memories may be suppressed or avoided. Again, everything that Candace is claiming with everybody that's involved with the TPUSA, she's basically saying, hey, they're not remembering this in the right order, and that is proof that they're trying to cover these things up. No, there's just a lot of things going on at the time. They're under stress. They don't remember who they called in the right order. They don't remember what they said. They don't recount what's going on. They're not even aware of what they're doing. One of the things that they talked about was, I think it was Mikey McCoy. I believe it was Mikey McCoy talking about, he said he was running away real quick. And we look at the video and he's not running away real quick. He's on video. He knows he's on video. He's not intentionally lying. His brain is playing games with him because he's under stress. He's under the most stressful event that's ever taken place. All this stuff is just common. Well, I won't say it's common sense, but it's easy to look up to verify. So instead of being gracious to these people that are victims of Charlie Kirk's assassination, they've picked them apart. It's not right. See, instead of ODA They have a baguette brigade, but keep up the good fight. Like Rambo said, nothing is over. Agreed. Cindy, thank you very much. Love you, Gary. Keep going with the truth. Bless you and your family. Well, bless you and your family, Cindy. These people don't care about facts. That's a fact. You lost me when you said for Trump and MAGA. Bye. Like, you people can't even deal with opposing views? Is that where we're at in the United States? Like, oh, you're a different kind of Republican. I don't know if you're a liberal, you're a Democrat or whatever else. If you told me, you know what, I'm a Democrat, I'd be like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's stupid. I would never say, you lost me. We're no longer friends. I unfriend you. I'm getting off this channel. All the other relevant information, really enjoyed, but you don't think the way that I think. So I'm going to go take my thoughts and voice and I'm going to go watch something else. I say this all the time. Look, I would rather 5 really good followers than 1 million freaking dummies. I appreciate each and every one of our followers, our subscribers, the people that support us. I do. But quality is so much better than quantity. I'm not going to be beholden to my audience. I'm not going to change anything because of my audience. I don't care if what I says offends you and I don't do, like, I'm not here to offend people intentionally, but I'm not going to, temper my thoughts, what I believe, because I'm worried about losing people and losing subscribers. I don't care. I'm just not going to be audience captured. All right. If you want to hear what I believe to be true, then come watch the show. If you want to, I do these lives so that we can have these discussions, debates, whatever you want to call them, right? So we can converse. And I want people that have opposing views. I wish all of my subscribers thought differently than me and we could talk it out. That's what this channel is going to be about. That's what Charlie was about. Like, let's talk through our differences. Let's try to see each other's point of view and why that is. But, oh, you're going to vote for somebody different. Unsubscribe. Bye. Aside from false accusations, another thing I hate is someone using his death as entertainment and making mega bucks, especially when Candace claims to be his friend. Pure evil. I agree. I almost strung together, and I just thought it was tacky, so I didn't do it. But there are just so many clips of Candace opening, like, "Hey guys, look what we got new!" Like it's this jubilant, happy. Like, I'm about to talk about Charlie Kirk's death. It's going to be a great time. Like, time and time and time again. It's weird, right? It gives me bad vibes. Oh, God. Conservatives better unite before it's too late. I agree. Gary is definitely not jealous of Baron Coleman. Baron Coleman was an informant who led a whisper campaign to affect a jury. Facts, look it up. That is a fact. Look it up. All right. If you talk about a real Fed, all right, if you consider a government informant a real Fed, go look at Baron Coleman. If you look at somebody that is a disinformation agent that is on court documents admitting to, hey, I intentionally started a whisper campaign to prejudice a jury. That's what this guy did. Look that up. I don't care. I'm not jealous of anybody else. I don't care about anybody else's numbers. I don't even look at that. Don't care. As a matter of fact, so many people that will always have larger channels than me. Like, I can tell what they're doing, and they've completely given up their integrity for those numbers. They're not being honest. They're not being real. Not everybody. I'm sure there's some people out there. I'm saying general statements, but there are a lot of people that are pushing things that they know to be lies and they disagree with, but they're worried about their numbers. They're worried about their view count. They're worried about the subscribers. I don't care. Like, all of my social media can go away today. Won't affect my lifestyle, won't affect my way of life. Matter of fact, I'd probably be a lot better. Let me tell you something. Opposing Candace and basically saying, hey, look, so far, based on evidence, the official narrative seems to be the most legit. I'm not buying the palm guns. I'm not buying the camera guns. I'm not buying holograms of Charlie. I'm not buying, flying drones. That's the easy way to go. All right. Like, if you want to do everything you possibly can to not get views, that's what I've done throughout this. It's not been popular. It's not been necessarily fun. It was a great learning experience because I didn't care about what people thought to begin with. But, you know, you do get affected. Like, it doesn't even bother me now. And it's a great, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, for teaching me not to give two shits about what people say on the internet, because I am there. I am beyond there. All right, we got some super chats. Once you realize they lied to you about one thing, you realize they lied to you about everything. Candace Owens, shouldn't she take her own advice about Mitch? Yeah. Shouldn't the truth be more easy upon your ears? I love Trump and MAGA, but I want the truth. I don't think Trump is involved, but others maybe. Like, that's fine. I'm willing to entertain everything. Like, I don't trust the U.S. government. I don't trust the FBI. I don't trust anybody. I want all those things to be shrunken. I want to be a quarter of the size. We've been lied to by our institutions many, many times. But what we don't do is just like do a knee-jerk 180 and be like, the government lies, the internet and social media personalities tell the truth. Because I'll tell you right now, at least with, and again, I am critical of Kash Patel. The information that we've been given based on evidence has proved to be much more factual and honest than what we're getting from social media. Like, we're getting, you know, exploding microphones. We're getting all the things I just talked about. Palm guns. You know, the security team's killing him behind the table. They took him to the wrong hospital. They took him to a hospital that's further away. You know, you have to be Spider-Man to climb up on the roof. Like, all of those are lies. All of them. And we've proven it time and time again. There were drones. There was drones flying before the event. Lie. All right. We've proven all those things. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people out there that are invested in getting you to believe a lie. Some of them are political. Some of them maybe, again, foreign adversaries. I think that's a huge push. Again, you look at all the bots that are on YouTube. You look at all the bots that are on X. I think it's a big mix of both, because whether we're talking about our political adversaries on the left, the George Soros types, or we're talking about foreign adversaries, there are so many objectives that they can achieve by hijacking the whole Candace Owens push. It undermines the U.S. government. It undermines what our already eroded trust in our institutions. It undermines one of the biggest things, folks. They're trying to destroy TPUSA because TPUSA was so effective in 2024. That's what's happening, whether you realize it or not. Now, some of you don't care because you don't like Donald Trump, and that's fine. But like, I don't care if there were conservative movements that were doing some of these things. And again, I don't have any proof of this. This is just me, in my opinion. All right. This is pure speculation. But if there was conservative movements that were putting out and hijacking some sort of thing like this, that was convincing people of lies so that we wouldn't vote for a Democrat, candidate, like, I would be opposed to that too. And that's what we should be. Like, all we want is the truth. And we can't just like say, hey, you know what? This is my narrative that I like. Now I want to try to find evidence to support that. We need to sit back, be grown people, be logical, and say, you know what? Let's just go where the facts and the evidence lead us, and not just look for facts and evidence. You know what I mean? CJ Carenti, always taking care of the channel, buddy. We love you. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful new year. All right. We got like a couple more. The problem is people thought Trump was perfect and he was going to fix all their problems within minutes of being in the White House. And that's not how any of this works. I agree with this assessment, including my own expectations. I think what a lot of us expected was like we somehow got rid of the deep state and he wouldn't be as hemmed up as he was his first term. And I think most of us were fairly pleased with his first term, but he was going through some deep state opposition. You know, he was getting, lawfare was taking place. He was impeached multiple times and he gets out. And we got lawfare again. We got January 6th, all of the stuff going on. And I think a lot of us thought he was just going to be able to come in unopposed and do a lot of things. Now, here's what I will say. If all we got out of the Trump administration was him securing the border, which we have gotten, it's a win. There's so much more than that. I mean, if you guys look, just go Google the Trump administration's, the current Trump administration's achievements. Now, some of you won't agree with all, but there's a long list, and I think they're pretty significant. They're not where we need to be. I agree. I'm with everybody on the Epstein list. That needs to come out. We need to have full transparency. I know some of that information has been put out. There's a lot of things to complain about, but it can be much worse. We could have Biden 2.0. We could have had a Kamala Harris presidency where the left just took over everything, and we're back in the Biden era, where we have all of these law enforcement, the DOJ being weaponized against political opponents, which we saw January 6th. Look at what's happening with the voter fraud that we saw, like in 2020. We knew, and we don't just know because we felt and we got vibes and feels. Like, we all knew what was going on because of COVID. We saw the drop boxes. There was evidence that voter fraud was taking place. And we knew it happened. And now, and I also knew this was going to happen. Like, years later, this stuff's going to come out. And the reason the Department of Justice and even Republican politicians didn't want to touch this is because it is a third rail of politics. Like, coming in and telling the American people that the democratic process of voting in our world leader is completely nonsense. Nobody wanted to touch that. Even though we know that's taking place, it's still taking place. I think voter fraud is one of the easiest things to pull off and one of the hardest things to prosecute, especially when it's decentralized like it was when we had COVID going on in 2020. And also because of all the other things that they put into place because of COVID, the restrictions, the things that they were able to get away with that they wouldn't be able to get away with in normal circumstances. So Judicial Watch has absolutely proven the cheating going on in our election. I agree. Gary asked for the picture and sent the wrong date. When he requested it, he admitted this mistake several times. I also went on X and responded directly to Candace Owens on that. It was like, hey, you know what? I asked him for this information. I put the wrong date. My bad. He gave it to me. Gary wasn't directed. Gary requested it. Andrew, tried to hook me up, and I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. And I posted something I shouldn't have posted. It was an accident. You know what I didn't do? Again, what I didn't do is I didn't platform a serial woman abuser. I didn't platform somebody that is a serial liar, all right, and then pretend that his crazy story at Fort Huachuca was real. And then I didn't make hundreds of thousands of dollars off those episodes. That's what Candace has done. And then on top of that, raise $140,000 for this criminal. I mean, he is. And wife beater, wife abuser, deadbeat father. Candace is dogging on Paramount Tactical in the latest post. She's nonstop, always finding something or somebody to blame for her fraudulent conspiracies. Dogging me away. I wear that as a badge of honor. Just tells me I'm over the target. Trump was protecting Clinton, a former president, and other friends. If Donald J. Trump was in the files, the Democrats had 4 years to release them. Yeah, and that's like, we don't know what the Biden administration has done to those files. I'm not saying that they included, I'm not suggesting that they would frame Donald Trump. Maybe they would. I don't know. But the fact is, like, we don't have chain of custody of those. That's really what it comes down to. And I think a lot of the information in there that could have really buried some people, I think a lot of that stuff has been scrubbed. And again, I got no evidence of that. Pure speculation. I do not care what anyone says. Trump is effective. He is building out a strong economic economic foundation for years to come, and I feel safer under his presidency. Deterrent is also a strong tool of his. I agree. And look, the same things that were said about him in his first term are being said about him now. That he's going to start all these new wars, he's going to do this. Like, we saw the exact opposite take place under Donald Trump, 2016 to 2020. And then we have Biden come in here, and the first thing that happens is war breaks out in Ukraine. And then we had the Afghanistan withdrawal. Oh my God, what a stain! What an embarrassment! And we're still seeing the impacts of that with the 2 National Guard soldiers that one was killed, and I think one is still in critical condition. Which, by the way, I don't remember if it was the girl or the male. I mean, they're literally from my hometown here in West Virginia. One of them. Always look at the facts. I do have questions about intent, but I cannot know anybody's intent, so they don't keep me up at night. I agree. Got to look at facts. I think this is about the movement that his death created. A Democrat wouldn't have seen office for years. They had to stop it. I blame Soros. I agree. I think there's other forces at play here. Look, a lot of our enemies, including our allies, by the way, like even when we're talking about the UK, Germany, the UN in general, like they don't want a Republican in office. All of those people could be involved in hijacking this and promoting certain aspects that are going to undermine the Trump administration, ultimately undermine the ability of us to have a Republican administration going forward. So I think all of those are true. Well, listen, folks, we're gonna call it a day. I appreciate you spending so much time with me. I just want to thank the victims again for coming in and talking to you publicly. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we will have Lene on here. I don't think I'm going to do another live stream between now and then unless something comes up. So make sure you like, you subscribe. If you guys want to support the channel, become a member. That link is down below in the description. Make sure you hit that bell icon and select all. YouTube is not our friend. Even people that select the bell icon tell me all the time that, Gary, you just released a new video or you're doing a live stream and I didn't get the alert. So anyways, if you're not following us on X, make sure you go follow us on X and Instagram and Facebook. Again, links for all of our socials are down in the description below. We do have a newsletter if you want to join that. We don't spam you. I don't sell any of your information or anything like that. So anyways, we appreciate the support. We appreciate you tuning in. We want you to have the happiest new year. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.